The Radio Memories Network is brought to you in part by Liberated Syndication, podcast publishing made easy, libsyn.com. That's libsyn.com.
Welcome to the Old Time Radio Network detective stories, continuing America's love affair with private eyes. We now go back to the early days of radio and our imaginations with our feature presentation.
Part 5, The Little Doctor.
I stood there leaning against the wall, trying to work up enough strength to walk away down the corridor. The morphia and the effort of knocking out Jay had weakened me so much that all I wanted to do was to lie down and sleep for a month. Well, after a while, I felt strong enough to give an imitation of a man walking, and I fetched up hard against a window at the end of the corridor. I looked out. It was one floor up, but a big enough drop. Suddenly I heard a murmur of voices coming nearer. There was nothing else for it. I pulled up the window, and I fell through. I dropped face downwards into a laurel bush. I struggled out and tottered off down a wet gravel drive. It was raining now, a soft, fine drizzle. I landed up at some somber-looking wrought-iron gates and stepped out into a dark, tree-lined avenue. I heard footsteps coming towards me through the gloom. Hello. Who are you?
I'm a postman. Do you want anything?
Yes. Tell me, what day is this?
Friday, the 8th.
Friday?
Anything wrong with that?
A heck of a lot. I've just lost 2 days. Imagine 2 whole days carved out of my life, and I'll never know what happened to them. Terrifying, isn't it?
Are you all right, mate?
Oh, sure. Sure. Full of vitamins. Who'd you say you were?
The postman.
Oh, postman. Where am I?
Limewood Avenue.
Where's that?
Blackheath. The east at the end of the road there.
Is that far from Piccadilly?
8 or 9 miles. You can get a 53 bus on the Heath.
Okay. Thanks. Oh, wait a minute.
Yes?
You know all the houses in this road, don't you?
Of course. I've been delivering around here for 5 years.
What's the name of that one there? There's no name on the gates.
It's called Glendale. It's a private asylum for loonies, you know.
Do you know who runs it?
Name of Frey. Dr. Alexander Frey.
Dr. Alexander Frey.
He's got a place in Wimpole Street, too.
Oh, good. That makes it a whole lot easier, I don't think. Good night.
Good night. Now, I wonder... Perhaps he's an escaped loony. You read about them and what capers they got up to. Let's go in and report it.
I went down the avenue and onto the Heath. Reached the bus stop and sat down on the pavement. My legs had given out again. The Heath was deserted. Nothing in sight, neither man, beast, nor machine. And then, out of the wet gloom came a familiar voice.
Mr. Odell, what do you think you're doing?
Sitting on the pavement?
You're ill. You're in no state to be out.
You think I'd be better in your nursing home?
Of course, you must come back at once.
No, thanks.
No, please.
You're pleading with me now, eh? The beautiful lady in mink asks a favor. It's a touching sight, but the answer is no.
You're delirious.
Sure I am. I'm seeing pink elephants. I'm seeing rainbows. What else do you expect when you fill me up with morphine?
Mr. Odell, please be sensible.
Call me Philip.
Philip, please be sensible.
You wouldn't care to sit down beside me, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
You see nothing romantic in sitting on a pavement in the rain? You're a big disappointment to me. You're much too conventional.
Will you be sensible?
Well, that means going back to your place? No.
What are you going to do?
Get on the next 53 bus that shows its face.
And then?
I haven't got that far yet.
Now look, Mr. Odell, I can make you come with me.
How? Don't tell me Jay's recovered.
He has. He's tough, too, you know. I've only got to call and he'll come.
Okay. Go ahead and call. See if I care. What's the matter? Losing your nerve?
No. I just don't want you to be hurt anymore.
Why not?
I like you.
Odd way you have of showing it. Sticking needles in me, trying to run me over in your big car. I'd hate to think what you'd do if you got really crazy about me.
You're a nice person, much too nice to be mixed up in all this. Why don't you take my offer? Take the £1,000 and go to Ireland.
No.
Why not?
I was hired by someone to work on this case.
Oh? Who?
A guy called Christopher Hampton. Know him?
Yes, I know him.
I don't want to let him down.
Christopher Hampton's let a lot of people down in his time. Wouldn't hurt him if someone did it to him for a change.
Just the same, I'm not going to do it. He's in pretty bad shape. His nerves are all shot to pieces. He trusts me, which is good. And he's prepared to pay, which is better.
I'm prepared to pay, too.
But he came first. There aren't any privileged classes, you know, where my services are concerned.
All right, if that's the way you want it. Jay! Jay!
I didn't wait to see Jay. He was much too slick with the blackjack to make him good company. I dived off into the darkness. It was rough going in that heath, but somehow I managed to keep going until I figured I'd given them the slip. I saw some lights ahead, and I made for them. I'd gone a few yards, and then the ground seemed to give way, and I sank down into a lot of bottomless darkness.
Yes? What is it?
Miss McMorrow to see Inspector Rigby.
Oh, come in, Miss McMurray.
Oh, thank you.
Inspector Rigby's out just at the moment. I'm Sergeant Layton, his assistant.
Sergeant, is there any news of Philip Odell? Have you found him yet?
No, I'm afraid we haven't. The inspector put out a general call for him 24 hours ago, but there's been no result.
General call? Does that mean that he's going to be arrested?
Well, I don't know that it means that exactly, Miss
Well,
McMurray.
what?
He promised to give the inspector some information about your brother's death, but he didn't show up at the arranged time. The inspector just wants to be sure that it won't happen again.
Then he is going to be arrested.
Well, yes, he is.
But Philip hasn't done anything wrong. It isn't a crime to make inquiries about a murder, is it?
According to Inspector Rigby, it is. Oh, this is Miss McMurray, Inspector.
We have met. Is there anything I can do for you, Miss McMorrow?
I wanted to see you about Odell.
Oh?
Oh, well, sir, I've got one or two things to do. I'll be in the outer office.
Do you know where Odell is, Miss McMorrow?
No, I don't. But something must have happened to him.
Why do you say that?
Well, he wouldn't go and disappear of his own free will, would he?
I don't know. He might.
Are you really going to arrest him?
Possibly.
But on what charge?
I want him to explain a £300 cheque he got from Christopher Hampton.
£300 cheque?
Yes. Your brother was accustomed to receive money from Christopher Hampton. £300 at a time.
Well?
According to Mr. Hampton, the blackmail didn't finish when your brother was killed.
Oh, but that's ridiculous. Odell isn't a blackmailer.
We shall know that when we find him.
Well, what steps are you taking to find him?
Look, I'm entrusted with the investigation of this case,
I know,
and I'm
but
not answerable to a member of the public while I'm handling it. Now, if you'll excuse me...
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interfere. But I'm so worried about Odell.
I dare say, but your emotional state is no affair of mine.
You're not very friendly, are you?
Miss McMorrow, exactly what is it you're trying to do?
I want you to help me.
How?
Well, I need advice. There isn't anyone I can turn to.
If I give you some advice, will you take it?
Oh, of course.
Then go home and stay there. Well, Leighton, what is it?
There's a sergeant from our division downstairs.
What does he want?
He's got Odell.
Splendid. Where did they find him?
On Blackheath. He was found lying in a hollow.
Can he walk?
Yes, but he's in a pretty bad way.
Send him up.
Yes, but...
But what?
Well, go easy with him, Inspector. He's had a bad time by the look of it.
Send him up.
Yes, sir.
Inspector, leave him alone for the present, please. I know he hasn't done anything wrong. He can explain that check. I'm sure he can.
He'll have every chance to do it.
Yes, but he's ill, Inspector. You heard what the sergeant said. Oh, let me take him away and look after him. When he's better, I'll bring him here, and then you can...
Ah, Mr. Odell, at last.
Philip!
Late for our appointment, I'm afraid.
Yes, 2 days late.
Philip! Oh, he's fainted. Oh, Philip. Oh, dear, doesn't he look dreadful? Blood all over his face.
Loosen his collar. I'll fetch a doctor.
Philip. Darling. Philip. This is Heather.
Oh, Angel. Nice to see you again.
Oh.
You keep bad company, don't you?
What do you mean?
Rigby.
I see.
Here he is, Doctor.
Oh, miss, if you'll stand aside, please. Thank you. Let's get his jacket off. Yes, I see. Who is this man?
His name's Philip Odell.
What's the matter with him, Doctor?
He's full of narcotics. Just look at his right forearm.
Looks as if someone's been using it as a pincushion.
Did you say he walked into this office, Inspector?
Yes, he came in and pitched flat on his face.
I don't know how he could have stood up, let alone walked.
He's very tough.
He must be.
Will he be ready for questioning soon?
Good heavens, no. Can't you see the state he's in, man?
But I've got to get on with this case. I've been held up for 2 days trying to find him. I must have his statement.
Well, he's not fit to make a statement and won't be for at least 12 hours. He ought to be got to bed immediately. Is there anyone to look after him?
Yes, Doctor. He can come to my flat. It's just off Sloane Street.
Have you any objection to that, Inspector?
Well, I don't know.
You'll get a much better statement from him if he's looked after sympathetically.
Well, all right. Give your address and telephone number to Sergeant Layton, Miss McMurdo.
Oh, thank you, Inspector.
Well, have they gone?
Yes, sir. I want to thank you, Inspector.
What for?
Letting Odell go with that girl. It was really nice of you.
Wise of me, you mean?
How would that be, sir?
They may make a move which will tell me what I want to know. I've arranged to have 2 men watching her flat night and day, and I've arranged to have her telephone tapped. All right, Layton, you can go.
Thank you, sir.
I woke up next morning smothered in hot water bottles. There was one in my chest, another on my neck, and 2 against my feet. There were several more littered about the bed, lending sympathetic support. Evidently, Heather's idea of sick nursing was that you should treat the patient like an orchid. Well, I fought my way out from under all this warm rubber and took stock. I felt much more like a human being, for one thing, and for another, I was hungry. Heather seemed to sense this because she came in with a tray of toasts and hot coffee. She was wearing a bright check apron and a stern expression on her face. She was being a nurse, and no nonsense.
Oh, you're awake. Oh, no. No, you mustn't sit up by yourself. I'll help you.
Thanks.
There. Now, a few more cushions for your back. There now. Now, here's your breakfast.
Could I have a cigarette first?
No. You're to eat your breakfast, and then I'm going to take your temperature, and then you'll go back to sleep again. Well, aren't you going to tell me?
Tell you what, Angel?
What happened after you left me the other night?
I went on out to Hampstead to see Sowerby. I left the car at the end of the road and walked up. And on the way, I was stopped.
By who? I mean, by whom?
The lady in mink.
No.
Yes. Her escort whacked me hard with a blackjack, and I woke up in a private nut house and found I'd been shot full of morphia. Kept out for 2 days.
Oh.
Then she came in and offered me £1,000 to go to Ireland and keep my mouth shut.
Well.
Later on, I managed to fall out of a window. A cop found me on Blackheath, and the rest you know.
Philip, does this mean the lady in mink killed Ricky and Marilyn Peters?
Well, I don't know. It may do, but it's not who did it that interests me so much, Heather. It's why it was done.
How do you mean?
Well, everyone connected with this case is trying to hide up something. Everyone's being something they're not. Christopher Hampton, an outdoor type, yet he's behaving like a pale neurotic. Martin Sowerby, the editor of an important paper, behaving like the little guy in the bowler hat with all the world on his neck. And the lady in mink, with all the glamour that ever came out of Bond Street, going on like a political agitator. Whoever you touch this case, Heather, wherever you touch it, it's phony. I want to find out why. If it leads to me to the killer, fine. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
You sure?
All the glamour and seductiveness that ever came out of Bond Street. That woman must have made a big impression on you.
Oh, well, so you know.
Were you alone with her?
As a matter of fact, yes, I was.
Where?
Well, in this bed, this sort of cell I was in.
Oh, I see. You carried on a conversation with her in a bedroom, did you?
Yes, but,
Of course. You kissed her?
Look, Heather, you don't understand.
Did you kiss her?
Well,
Did you?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I did, but it was purely scientific.
Of course. It was all part of the investigation, I suppose.
Yes, that's right. I've got a theory, you see, that the only way you can find out what's going on in the mind of a moderately attractive woman is to kiss her. Well, that's all.
You've got no more moral sense than a stoat.
Now, look, Heather,
And another thing. If you leave this flat before I come back, I'll brain you. The inspector's holding me responsible for you, and I'm not going to prison just because you can't keep your hands off a moderately attractive woman.
Oh, dearie me. When will I learn not to tell the truth to women?
And you needn't think that I brought you here because I like you. I did it because I've got a misplaced sense of humanity.
Yes, well, after she had gone, I bathed, shaved, and dressed, and felt fine. Then I wondered what to do next, and felt awful. I knew I'd have to go on with this case, even if it meant Heather being locked up. Was I behaving like a gentleman? Regretfully, I had to answer no. So I picked up the phone and called up Martin Sowerby's office. They told me he hadn't been there for 3 days, but was believed to be at his home in Hampstead. During the call, I heard a faint click on the line and knew that it was being tapped. I've tapped too many lines myself not to miss that. Then I went over to the window and looked out. In a doorway across the street, there was a thin guy in a greasy trench coat and a soft hat tugged down over his eyes. I didn't need to ask myself what he was doing. I saved the time and asked myself how I was going to get out of the building without him seeing me. I found an answer to that quicker than I expected. A big furniture van was parked outside the main door, and luckily the removal was taking place from a flat on the same floor as Heather's. I went along and found the man in charge of the proceedings.
Yes, I'm the foreman on this job.
Care for a cigarette?
Thanks, don't mind if I do. Yes, being a foreman's not an easy job.
Here you are.
General public makes a lot of jokes about it, I know. I think being a foreman's the same as retiring from work.
People are malicious, Andy.
Beg pardon?
People don't understand things very well.
Oh, they do not. Well, they don't understand I've got to use me head. For instance, when we shift this here wardrobe, I'll get 2 men on it. A tall one and a short one. I'll put the tall one in front and the little one behind. Then when they go down the stairs with the wardrobe, it'll keep on an even keel. And that's what I call planning.
I don't believe it. It isn't possible to get that thing down on an even keel.
OK, we'll shift it now and you'll see.
Well, I bet you £1 you don't get it down on an even keel.
Done! Easiest quid I ever made.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, I'll have to ride down in the wardrobe myself.
What for?
Well, to see whether it does keep on an even keel.
You're pulling my leg?
Look, I'll give you £2 if you get me carried out in that wardrobe.
Done! You're probably crazy, but who am I to worry?
In spite of the foreman's boast, the wardrobe did not go down those stairs on an even keel. I did the journey mostly on my head. He must have got mixed up and put the short guy in front. Anyway, I parted with the £2, happy to get out of the building without the watcher in the doorway knowing a thing about it. I found a cab and went to Hampstead. Thackeray Lodge was one of those rambling Victorian houses, half buried behind shrubbery and trees. I rang the bell for a long time, but got no answer. So I went round the back and climbed over a wall and into the garden. A pair of French windows gave onto a stone terrace, and I made for them. Martin Sorrelby was sitting alone beside the fireplace. An empty whiskey bottle stood on the mantelpiece, another lay on the grate, 2 more lay on the carpet, and, well, it looked like the end of a drunkard's convention. So did Sorrelby. There was a couple of days' growth on his pasty face. I pushed open the French window, and he screamed.
No! No! Who's there? No, keep away! No!
All right, Mr. Sorrelby, all right. No one's going to hurt you.
No, get back. Get back. I'll shoot you if you come a step nearer.
Now, put that gun away, Mr. Sorrelby. It doesn't go with your face.
Now, get back. I swear I'll shoot.
You know who I am, don't you?
Yes, I know who you are. Now, get back.
Now, look, Mr. Sorrelby. I misjudged you. I didn't think you had the guts. Now, give me that gun.
Now, go away. Go away. I'll kill you.
Give me the gun.
Oh, no.
That's better. Magazine full. You must have been scared. I'm sorry I had to hit you, Mr. Sorrelby. Now, sit down here. Is there any more whiskey, or have you killed it all?
What do you want?
I want to talk to you.
You're not going to kill me?
Look, Mr. Sorrelby, I'm on the side of the cops. I know Inspector Rigby doesn't think so, but I am. I'm not killing anyone. Not today. Now get a grip on yourself.
I've got nothing to say to you. I told you that in my office.
You gave me a lot of double talk. I want the truth now.
Leave me alone. Please, leave me alone.
You know, you're in bad shape. You're a sick man. There's a little whiskey left in this bottle. Yeah, drink it. Now, look, Mr. Sorrelby, I didn't mean to scare you. I don't want to interfere in things that don't concern me. But this is murder. 2 people have been killed. There may be others on the list.
Yes, there are. I'm on it myself.
How do you know that?
Oh, it's been coming for some time. I know they're going to kill me.
Who's they?
Oh, can you help me? Can you? Oh, you seem to be a resourceful man. Someone I could trust.
You can trust me, all right, if you tell me the truth.
What do you want to know?
First, why McMorrow was blackmailing you.
What? How did you know about that?
Just let me ask the questions. It'll be simpler.
Well, it can't matter if I tell you. Years ago, before I came to London, I was mixed up in the death of a young man.
Called George Maybrick?
Well, how did you...
Go on. Did you kill Maybrick?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I was drunk at the time. Maybrick and I were friends. He worked for Christopher Hamden, the racehorse owner, and I was on the local paper. I was in love with a girl in the town.
Kitty Stapleton?
Yes.
Go on.
I adored her. I worshipped the ground she walked on. One day I introduced her to Maybrick. Well, perhaps you can guess what happened.
I can. One of the oldest stories in the world. Never trust your best friend unless he's under lock and key. What happened?
I started drinking. One night I went to Maybrick's cottage on the Hamden estate. They were together. I was mad drunk. There was a fight. He banged his head against the fender. I didn't wait to see any more. Next day I heard he was dead. I ran away and I never went back. Afterwards I heard there'd been an inquest and a verdict of suicide.
What happened to Kitty?
I don't know. She ran out to get help when we started to fight. I heard she disappeared after that night.
And Hampton? Where did he fit in?
I don't know.
You knew him, didn't you?
Yes.
He told me a story about some racing swindle that took place at the time of Maybrick's death. Know anything about it?
Yes. He had one of his horses pulled. He was in debt, and so was I. I went in with him because I knew a lot of people in the town, and he reckoned I'd be useful if anything leaked out.
According to Hampton, Maybrick hanged himself.
I know. I was astonished when I heard that. But when I last saw him, Maybrick was lying on the floor with his head cut open.
Why didn't you go to the police?
I was afraid.
How did Ricky McMara get hold of this story after 15 years?
I don't know. He came to me and said he'd got concrete evidence in the form of a letter which proved I'd killed Maybrick. We knew everything about it, details that I thought no other living soul knew. I was afraid, and I paid him.
But when McMara died, the blackmail went on. That right?
Yes. The day after his death, I had a telephone call.
Man or woman?
Woman.
Recognize the voice?
No. She said the blackmail was going on. Only now it couldn't be settled by money.
What then?
She said I was to write an article on the Middle East situation. And if I do, it can't fail to get me chucked out of Fleet Street. She gave me 3 days to do it in. The 3 days are up.
Why have you shut yourself up here?
Oh, my nerves gave way. You know, I've been having treatment.
Is that the front door?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go.
No, don't. No, I'm afraid.
That's all right. I won't let anyone hurt you, Mr. Sowerby.
Is Mr. Sowerby at home?
Who wants him?
Dr. Frey.
Oh. Come in. Dr. Alexander Frey?
That's right.
You have a private nut factory out in Blackheath, haven't you?
I have a nursing home there.
Name of Glendale?
That's right. Do you know it?
I do indeed. It's getting to be quite famous, or ought I to say notorious.
What are you talking about?
Never mind. Come and see Mr. Sowerby. We can talk later.
Martin, my dear fellow, where have you been?
Oh, I haven't been feeling at all well.
My poor Martin, you look terrible. You must be careful, you know. You can't afford to take risks with your health. I've told you that often enough. Oh, you should have called me at once.
Yes, I know.
We'll have to have a talk. If your friend will excuse me.
You'd better go, Mr. Odell.
I'll wait in another room.
Mr. Sowerby won't be fit to talk any more today.
I'll sit and play gin rummy with him then.
Please go.
Yes, Mr. Odell. Please go.
Okay, I'll go. But I'll come back.
The Little Doctor was the 5th part of Lady in a Fog, a serial in 8 parts by Lester Powell, with Robert Beatty as Philip Odell and Sheila Manahan as Heather McMara. The part of the Lady in Mink was played by Mary Wimbush, Martin Sowerby by John Bennett, Inspector Rigby by Edward Dewsbury, and Dr. Alexander Frey by Trevor Martin. Production for the BBC by Martin C. Webster.